Hi everyone, welcome to week 2. Today we're going to be discussing crime and the media. Now I am going to apologise if there's any background noise. If it comes out in the first recording, I'll go back in and go somewhere a bit quieter for the second one, but we'll see how we go. So first of all, I'm going to ask you a few questions and just see what your understanding is of crime. So first of all, most crime victims are victimised by strangers, true or false? Well, the answer to this is actually false. Most crime victims are victimised by people they know. So who are we victimised by, and why would your friends and family do to you? Why do people hurt the people that they love or people that they know? But overall, most crime victims are not victimised by strangers, but by people that they actually know. So I know this graph is a bit blurry and I apologise. I wasn't able to download them off the QPS site. I actually had to take photographs of them. This is the worst one, so I promise you that they get a bit better after this. But this is a graph that shows you about people who are harmed. And if you can actually read it, the vast majority of people in the boxes where it's quite high are talking about family and friends and people that they know. So known to the victim other is someone that they know but not a partner or family member. Okay? Men do go to the pub and fight. That happens. But stranger on stranger crime is not as common as being hurt by people that you know. Violent crime in our society is on the rise, true or false? I'm thinking that some of you might have answered true to this. The answer is technically false, but it also is a little bit true. So as you can see in this graph here, the rate of violent crime against people has been dropping steadily since the turn of the century. But in the last couple of years, we've seen a little bit of an increase again. And while, yes, you could say that it is starting to just increase again, it's nowhere near what it was back in the year 2000. What shape do you think this graph is? Well, that's actually called a bell curve, and it's actually very common in research to find a bell curve. But what happened from 1983 onwards that it was just so high, and why did it start to drop? They're all things that we'll talk about during the course. True or false? The elderly are the least at risk of becoming victims of crime. Well, that is actually true. So the elderly might be very, very fearful and frightened of becoming victims of crime, but overall they are least at risk of being victims of crime. Second one, females are more likely to become victims of crime compared to males, true or false? Well, the answer to that is actually false, unless you're talking about sexual assault, then females definitely are. Okay, so this graph here is for 1 year only and shows the ages of people who have had offences against a person. This would include, sexual assault. The only reason we know that is because we can see that the number of female victims is so high. But if you look down the other end at the 55 plus age group, then you can see that older people are more likely or are less likely to be victims of violent crime. Okay, for most violent crime, males make up the victims. When you add in sexual assault, then the females will take over. Okay, so look at what's happening in the 10 to 14 and 15 to 19 age group. Who are the offenders for this age group? What happens then that makes these younger people more likely to be offenders and victims? Think about when you were a teenager, what happened when you got to your teenage years? You might have gotten a little bit more freedom from your parents and you're out there with your friends and exploring the world. So that's why that age group does tend to be represented more highly. Okay. Most offenders who begin offending in adolescence will continue to offend well into adulthood, true or false? This question's basically asking you, does a little shit become a very, very big shit? And the answer is definitely no. Most young people who offend as teenagers will commit one small crime and then go on to lead perfectly law-abiding lives and never commit any more offences. Have a think back to when you were young people, and some of you are not that, far out of being young people. Did you ever do something that you really don't want your parents to find out about? I don't think there's too many of us that could say we never did anything that we didn't want our parents to find out about, whether that's lawful or otherwise. So the vast majority of young people who offend do so only once or only for a very short period of time over the life course. We grow up and we grow out of it. We just mature out of it. And this is a stable trend across all societies. So this isn't really even an Australian thing. This happens all over the world. Okay, and again, males and females are most likely to be offenders, 31% of all offenders. But as you can see, the graph slowly decreases as people get older. Males always more overrepresented than females.